We're on. Hi. Welcome back. And we are going to talk about the earth. And the last session we had was such a contribution to the earth. The laughter, the sexualness, all of it. And one of the best part for me in this chapter is when Dane writes about what the greatest toxic waste for the earth is, which is anger, rage, fury, hate, and all our love for drama and trauma. So I have Susie and Desiree with me, and I was going to start by asking you how you play, hang out, have fun with the earth.
That's a really good question. One thing for me is really, how do you follow this conversation with sex? I'm just like, I'm still like vibrating.
What if you could have sex with the earth?
Exactly, and that's really the thing. It's like really perceiving the earth and receiving from the earth, because that's the part that we forget the most, and truly just lowering our walls and barriers and actually letting the earth contribute to us, because we have this point of view, we have to save the earth. Actually, one part in the chapter, forget about it, okay? The earth doesn't need us to be superior and save it. The earth requires us to actually laugh, and this last session, like you said, such a contribution to the earth, really, because the earth thrives on us having that vibration of laughter and joy. And when we're being sad and serious and we want to save the earth, and we want to save the earth, and save the earth,
And the earth goes, oh my God, you're so boring. I don't want to keep you on here anymore.
At that point, she might shake us off.
Yes.
The earth is such a turn on. It always was. Like, I loved that the conversation before this was for me as a kid, I couldn't wait to wake up and get outside and be turned on by the earth and see what it could gift me and what I could gift it back. And at a certain point, we learned that maybe we needed to save the earth. So, I would babysit constantly to save up money to send it all to Greenpeace because I thought I needed to save everything. But it came from that desire to want to give back. Like, it gives so much to me. I would be so excited that I gotta make my life some kind of gift in return. But it got lost somewhere along the line of trying to save it, and it got really boring.
But it also looks so different for everyone. So I've been part of you playing with the earth through the animals a lot. And I've been part of you talking to a guppy that was in my aquarium that was swimming the wrong way. And you spent hours talking to the guppy until it started to swim the correct way. It was amazing.
Let's just say what she calls wrong and correct is it was actually kind of floating upside down mostly. So, in other words, maybe on its last leg or fin. However.
Yeah, it had lost. Well, I asked. It really had lost its sense of direction. They said in the guppy store. I don't know if there are guppy stores, but. That you just had fun with the guppy, and I was like, wow, I never even considered that. So that particular way that we have so different way of being with the earth. It doesn't need to look a certain way. It's like what Chris was talking about. It doesn't need to be petals and rose flowers and champagne. It doesn't need to be sitting. Some people like hugging trees. Some people love running through the forest really, really, really fast on their horse.
Yeah. Well, and also this whole point of view that you have to do certain things to contribute to the earth. You have to ride a bicycle, right? You can't have a car or, God forbid, like an SUV. Those are the kinds of things where, thank goodness for the tools, because honestly, I had that same point of view that you had to do it a certain way. This was the way that you were going to contribute to the earth. Surviving or thriving wasn't even a word in my vocabulary, surviving. And then it took me also quite a while with being immersed in the tools and using the tools to get over that point of view. and to really also look at what is truly a contribution, asking the earth. And the one thing that really changed it a lot for me was to start listening to the earth and asking some questions. But one of the questions also that I started asking is, am I a being or making a difference by being here on this planet? And the earth was showing me an energy that really actually was like, wow. And so I've used that a lot with people too, and you can do it right now. Just perceive the energy that the earth actually has about you. Because a lot of times we think, oh, I don't make a difference, I'm not important, I'm not contributing. And then yet, if you actually are willing to listen, it's like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I am being more of a contribution than I want to really admit.
And even that is funny, because when we look at it that individually, like we personally would be a contribution by when the earth has, I don't even remember how many people there are on the earth, but for the earth, we are something so different that we don't get it, because we keep looking at it from our very individual point of view. And what you just showed me is like, so what contribution am I in the way the earth perceives me, receives me, and bees here? So for all of you on there, what if you could ask, like, what contribution am I that I've never even considered before today? And everything that doesn't allow you to perceive, know, be, and receive that, would you be willing to uncreate and destroy it? Right, wrong, good and bad, Popok, all nine shorts, boys, povets, and beyonds. Yay.
That's so beautifully said. And I know for myself, I got to a point, I actually remember the day I was reading this chapter. I can remember the first time reading it and where I was. And I was in Telluride, Colorado, in a beautiful area looking at Earth at one of her most amazing spaces and faces. And I had the revelation that she had allowance for me. And that would I match that? Would I have that much allowance and be embraced by her allowance and not try to do right for the earth, but acknowledge I'm here. She has allowance for me. I must be of some kind of value that I hadn't acknowledged, whatever I do, even though I did drive to Telluride in an SUV. And so I had been looking at the doing as the way I was evaluating whether or not I was a gift to humanity, to the earth, anything. And it was reading this chapter in Telluride, recognizing, kind of flipping back to childhood, like, it was that place where I wasn't in the judgment of what I did until I learned how to judge what I was doing, that eliminated the awareness of what I had always been being.
And the earth is such a gift. So in the very first session today that we did, that was with Simone Milasses, and I was on stage, and I was so nervous of some reason. And not until she started to talk about the earth did I find this space of me. And I did an interview recently with a friend of mine who has become a gardener. After many, many years, she completely changed her profession. She became a gardener. And I asked her what was the greatest gift from becoming a gardener. And she said, it's the first time I don't have to be right, I'm not wrong, and I can actually relax into being me when I'm with the earth, when I'm out in nature. And I've known this person for such a long time, and you could just see how she had so relaxed into the earth that that's where she finally was able to be her and be happy. And that gift, when we refuse that, instead of receive it, that is also denying the simultaneity of gifting and receiving that we can have with the earth continuously, that contribution that we can be and receive every day. And right now, like you were saying, we can be it right now, tapping into the earth around us, under us, wherever you are in the world.
And too, we have these points of views about, oh, I'm in a city, so now I can't receive from nature, or I have to go into the woods in order to receive from nature. And it's really not true. You can receive from nature no matter where you are. You could be in a skyscraper and receive from nature. So that's a point of view, and I mean, Dane says it so many times, your point of view creates your reality. So if you do have the point of view that you can't receive from nature unless you actually are on the grass, then that's how you're going to create your life. And is that how you would like to create your life? Or would you rather actually receive all the time, no matter where you are and what you're doing, and really just, from everywhere, and not judge that, oh, I can't receive from this chair, but I can receive from the flowers, or I can receive, from somebody sitting next to me, but I won't be able to receive from the concrete under me because it's bad. So everything that is times a gazillion, we just try and create it, please. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, pool, that's and beyond.
And the cool part is you can still prefer the flower to the concrete, and you can enjoy walking in the forest, and you can do all those things and still receive from everything. That's kind of like that magic where when you go out of the judgment or the rightness and the wrongness, then actually so much more is available. But you both also play with horses. Makes you very happy. So what is that like? And how does the earth come into that?
Oh, the first thing that I could say is that when I'm with a horse, I am in a completely, such a bigger space, number one. A bigger space that's including beyond what I had defined was the earth. My horse keeps showing me that wherever you might have a boundary of where you think, like, we go beyond the atmosphere. Oops. We go beyond the atmosphere, and then it's like, okay, now where? Now where? And she's always showing me that I can pull from so much more and receive from so much more than a particular environment or what I have decided is where I am on the earth. So it just goes so much bigger, and it's boundless, and it's thoughtless, and it's full of lust and aliveness and peace and playfulness and intensity of relaxation. I'm very, very grateful for that, mostly, that I could have a relaxed intensity. And it was like when Dr. Dane was speaking earlier about how we had done, like, when you do something that's really intense for you over and over, maybe it's not something that's like the lightness of you. And with her, it was showing me I love intense things, but this was a lightness of intensity that she shows me. And now I have that to find that more in my life and create it more in my life, that I don't need to seek intensities that aren't actually from the lightness of expansion.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, to me, like, all animals really are such a gift because they don't really judge us, And I think that's why the people that do have animals around, they know that, no matter what you are choosing that day, your animal is just going to be there. And it won't have a point of view about what's showing up for you. And if you are around a horse and you're cranky, that may not be in your best interest, because some animals, like horses, they really look towards us for also like guidance in a way. And dogs not so much, because they're predators themselves, and so they have a little bit of a different point of view. But a horse, when you're truly working with a horse, the horse wants to rely on you. And so if you're being cranky, that horse goes into, whoa, what's going on here? What are you doing? And it might look around and go, what am I missing? What am I missing? And so in that sense, horses are much, much different to play with, because they do actually invite us to a different way of really being present with ourselves, because a lot of times we run around and we don't even really know what we're being until somebody says, hey,
Yeah.
what are you doing,
And it reminds me of this other part of the book where, I don't know if it's this chapter, it's one of the chapters where Dane writes about during the tsunami when the elephants, they would tear up their poles that they were tied to and run to high ground. So would all the animals, while the humans would go to the water and photographing the amazing incoming wave that they could see. And that cut off from our awareness that actually occurs when we're not being willing to be present, I guess, with the earth. So how has that changed for you the more you, I guess, hang out with the earth?
Gosh, it just occurred to me that when I'm with a horse, it also happens in music. There's some kind of presence that is showing us what it is to be a steward of the earth. It's like with a horse, you've got to have your horse's back. You've got to be a space together and not count on something else to be more aware. Like, you're going to step up. You're going to be really present. You're going to be relaxed. You're going to be aware together. And it just occurred to me how much that is the lesson of being a steward of each other, of the space, and of the planet together.
Mm-hmm. And one part too that I find really important is so often we start to make something greater than us, like an animal that might have an awareness about something will make it greater than us, or we also oftentimes see ourselves greater than the animals because we think, oh wow, that's a virtue, but to me, it's like really like that whole thing with the tsunami too. It's not that we all have to be aware of everything that's going on around us, but if we're willing to be aware of everything in a way that we are also using everybody else's talents and abilities, then that's the awareness really. Because sometimes we make ourselves less than, like, we don't have the smell a dog has, we cannot smell that, but we can actually be aware when the dog is smelling something and then use that to kind of go, oh, what's going on here? And the same with the tsunami. If people have been like, what's going on here? The
why are the
elephants
animals moving
are running
over
for the hills. Why are we going to the beach again? So it's not necessarily, So, but that's kind of this being willing to really receive from everything again, coming back to that again. So not really judging it for like, oh, I won't receive from a fly because the fly is dumb. Okay. But then what are you cutting off with that?
This is like what he says in the chapter when he's talking about the difference of how power shows up in this reality so much versus having the choice from potency. And so many people tend to have this idea that they are more powerful than the earth, maybe. Seems bizarre, but they'll just go take a picture of the wave and not recognize the potency of the earth. Presuming they may be a more powerful entity than the earth. And in potency, you're not diminishing of anyone or anything. You're in total presence and potency with and listening to. So I love that part of this chapter in particular with the earth, because we come across people who somehow think the earth is like an inanimate rock floating in space, and it has so many voices and whispers of consciousness.
It's like our bodies. Our bodies are this amazing, miraculous organism that functions in ways we hardly understand. It's the same with the earth. And one of the things that he also talks about in this chapter is the non-linearity of the earth, that things are actually not linear. And that means that things may work out in ways that we don't even know. There's the example of the oil spill, where they tried to clean this oil spill up for months, and then suddenly these bacteria showed up and ate all the oil from nowhere. They're supposed to be further down. What could we ask the earth for that we haven't even begun to ask it when it comes to all these things that we've defined as problems that are going on the earth? What if we were actually, instead of being superior and thinking that we're going to save the world, the earth, and resolve the problems that we defined as problems, what if we asked the earth, so how could we do this different? What is required here? How can we contribute to this? So that's also one of the things that, like, when we move out of superiority and power over and instead go to what potency could we be together with the earth? And what awareness could we have from that?
If you take potency plus lust,
Exactly.
plus joy, and then equals miracles, so you can ask for more bacteria to eat oil and stuff.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, like, what can we really choose and ask for from being that lust for life, that joy and that exuberance? And it's like Gary Douglas says so many times over, our laughter is the greatest contribution to the earth, not our tears. And I definitely had learned how to how to do tears. I mean, I cried some rivers for the earth, and she was like, not required, honey. So I realized that wasn't getting me anywhere. So it's just such a joy to recognize and acknowledge that it is our lightness, that lightness in walking with the earth, that allows us to be miracle makers.
So if you were to say what it is to be a steward of the earth, how would you describe it?
That is a great question. Wow. It's... To me, it has such a depth to it, because there's so much required for us to really step out of and be willing to be an allowance of ourselves and of everything we have basically said is wrong so far, and really looking at, okay, every day, every moment, I have a choice, and I can choose anything. So in that moment, what is it that would be the contribution to the future I would like to see on the planet?
Yeah.
And really, to me, that's a question I've been asking a lot lately. You know, is this creating the future I would like to see on the planet? And if that's a no, then okay, I could still choose it, but then at least I know that's not creating the future I would like to have. So it's not really about following rules or making some kind of definitions about what's right or wrong. To me, it's really more looking at everything like, oh, if I buy this right now, if I go on this trip, if I hop on this plane, if I, you know, anything. Like, what if we're willing to ask for every choice we're making?
And one of the things that Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, often says is that he looks at every choice and what we'll create in 500 years. And that gives that whole different time span. Because if you do that, yeah, maybe you're not just looking at your little time span of your life. You're actually looking at what would this create in the future for every choice. And that, for me, that is part of being a steward of the earth, actually having a different time perspective for what we're looking at. It's not just about now 10 years, it's about hundreds of years in the future. What is required then? And for you?
Yes, leaving the world greater than I found it to the best of my ability. And I always love tapping into a time beyond my own. Just leaving a gift to like whatever that is, and coming out of judgment of whether or not I'm doing it well, doing it right. I tried that, and thank goodness I found Access Consciousness. And coming out of the doing of that, but also coming out of withholding me, like holding me back. It can just be an energetic 2-step forward. It doesn't have to be a to-do again, but constantly moving forward and into my being, more of what I be, and trusting that feeds a time beyond my own. Gives me, man, that puts a motion to my step. If I start trying to do life for me, I get slow and stuck. If it's for something beyond me, I get moving. So I think that might really be it. And I think that's what also we see a lot of animals be. They're just moving. Their life is a gift. It isn't a demonstration or a proving. It's a movement and a rhythm that creates a cadence for another time.
And I wonder also, what if we're willing to uncreate and destroy everything we decided is possible with the earth, everything we decided is not possible with the earth, everything we decided the earth can be and can't be, like all of that, if we uncreated and destroyed that, what would be possible to show up? Right now I'm going to pop up online shorts, boys, povats and beyonds. Yeah. So if you're jumping on and you're coming on now and you hear us say all these weird words and you've never heard them before, you can go to theclearingstatement.com. It's a brilliant video about Simon Melasas and Dr. Dane here, where they explain what all those words mean and how you can use them in your life. Yay. So anything you want to add?
I was just thinking, I love how much when Dane talks about, like, what if the animals and the plants also have so much more to become? To not have this idea that this is the earth, this is how it is, and nothing has yet to continue to become. That we are becoming, but as we become and we unleash more of who we be, I wonder what that will show up as with all the other creatures and all of the other living beings. I want to be here to find out what else is going to show up. It's pretty great right now. And what else is possible?
I love that.
Awesome.
That's a great place to end. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay.